Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the other side of medicine. I am Dr. Krystosik, and I am glad you take some time to spend with us this evening. Tonight's episode, we are going to flip your understanding of health upside down. We're going to turn it upside down on its head. What if the reason you're feeling anxious or foggy or forgetful or fatigued is living inside your gut? Not in your head, it's inside your gut. Well, ponder that for just a couple of minutes and then tell your family and friends about this episode because this is going to be quite interesting and it will be based on common sense, science, cooperation with nature. That's what this program is always about. We're based on evidence, natural medicine based on evidence, and that's the key. So what if your bloating, your abdominal cramps, your constipation, or your diarrhea, or both were diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome? Maybe it's not stemming from your brain. It could be stemming from your gut, or vice versa. It could be stemming from your brain. There's a two-way street. It's called the gut-brain axis. And we're going to be pulling back the curtain on this gut-brain connection tonight. And again, it's a two-way street. But 75% of the time, your gut is in the driver's seat. You know, here on this program, we talk about all disease begins in the gut. So there's a lot that happens in the mind, but the gut is the grand central station of the body. And so your gut could be the epicenter of over 100 different symptoms. Ponder that again for just a little bit. And 150 different diseases have been linked to conditions, including autoimmune diseases. And by the way, when I first started practice over 30 years ago, autoimmune diseases were rare. Today, we have over 20 million people who are suffering with autoimmune diseases. Again, it was rare before. You may be one of the people that's suffering with them, and it could be stemming from your gut in combination with your brain. Again, that gut-brain axis. So what is the gut-brain axis? Well, there's a nervous system in our brain, and one of the main nerves is called the vagus nerve. You might have heard of that before. It's in your head. Well, the vagus nerve runs down all the way into your gut. So it connects the brain with the gut. It's that superhighway we're talking about. Did you know that 90% of the serotonin, that feel-good hormone, is made in the gut, not in the brain? So your gut, we call it your second brain. So your second brain is not in your head, it's in your gut. You know, back in 2014, there was an article published in Nature's Reviews on Neuroscience. And the author of the study, Mayer, showed that there was a connection, a strong connection, influence between how the brain developed and our behaviors were connected to each other through pathways in the nerves like the vagus nerve we just talked about that runs from the brain to the gut. And that major research study kind of really started to change people's perception on how our moods and behaviors and our cognitive function is affected by our gut. When Mayer studied this connection between the gut microorganisms, the good and bad bacteria living inside the gut, and how it has an effect on our brain function and our behavior function, the significant role in shaping those interactions between the brain and how it influences our physical and mental health, how the bacteria in your gut produce hormones compounds like dopamine and GABA, and the one I mentioned earlier, that serotonin. And 90% of that serotonin is produced inside the gut. All these compounds, all these hormones, they influence your thoughts, your moods, and your behaviors. And Mayer and his co-workers, they showed how an imbalance inside the gut bacteria, we call that dysbiosis, that it can cause brain disorders, including anxiety, depression, dementia, and even autism spectrum disorder. So your child may be suffering with autism, and it could be linked to what's going on in their gut. And by the way, I have seen children in my practice with autism who have been significantly improved by getting their gut back in order, getting rid of hidden food allergies, cleaning up their diet so that they fed the bacteria that were going to help to heal their body. You see, the gut bacteria have cravings. The good bacteria have cravings, and the bad bugs have cravings. And you figure out which one the good ones want. They want whole foods. The bad ones want the refined carbs. They want the processed foods. And so that two-way street we're talking about, that two-way street, when you have altered brain function, you've got unmanaged stress, it can contribute to things like irritable bowel syndrome and inflammatory bowel disorder. So it's coming from the brain, which could be having unmanaged stress in your life. And that could influence what's going on in your gut. There's that two-way street. So our gut feelings are real. You've probably heard sayings like, well, I've got a bad feeling about this. We've all said things like that before. Or I've got butterflies in my stomach. Well, see, that's your gut-brain axis. It's talking to you. See, bacteria in your gut, they have a role in your response to fear, your risk-taking, and even the intuition that you have. And researchers show how people with imbalances in their gut bacteria, when there's bad ones living inside the gut, they produce compounds that are toxic. They're called endotoxins, like lipopolysaccharides. That's a major one. And they trigger anxiety, depression, and other mood disorders. Chronic fatigue, all these things are stemmed from the microorganisms living inside your gut. There was several what we call randomized controlled trial studies. These are when the people don't know what they're being given in the trials. They have no cognizance of that. And when they were given probiotics, they didn't even know they were getting them. They showed that their depression and anxiety was actually reduced significantly. People with major depressive disorders, these studies, these randomized controlled studies showed that major depressive disorders had significant improvement. And two of the most important bacteria, lactobacillus and bifidobacterium, they were implicated in these studies, helping these individuals with depression and anxiety. So my friends, research is mounting. When the bacteria are out of balance inside your gut, it disrupts your brain chemistry, and that can lead to emotional disturbances, turbulence inside your brain. So what if your next anxiety attack is triggered from the type of bacteria living inside your colon? Or your next sugar craving, your next craving for that sugar that you want to go get that chocolate bar or that donut or that cookie, may be coming from little voices from the microbes that are whispering little messages into your ear. Did you ever think about that? Well, the research is clear. These microorganisms have that kind of profound influence on helping us to make decisions, good and bad, about the foods that we crave. So, the gut is not silent. It just keeps speaking a language that we haven't been taught to listen to. And doctors don't teach you about how these bacteria have this kind of profound effect. But here on the other side of medicine, we do. See, we need to start looking at this exciting research. And that's what we do on the other side of medicine. We dive into the research. See, this is turning medicine upside down. But the sad thing is, your doctor more than likely hasn't caught up with the research. They're still relying on prescription drugs to treat your anxiety and depression, dementia, or your child's autism, or any other type of behavioral or mental disorder, including things like Parkinson's disease. The research is mounting, my friends. Will you let this keep on going on in the same direction? Just keep on treating the symptoms without getting to the underlying cause? You have to take your health into your hands and start to learn about the natural approach to anxiety and depression and behavioral disorders and cognitive dysfunction for you or your child or anybody. So the connection between food and mood and mental clarity is profound. The ultra-processed foods that people are eating feed that harmful bacteria. It triggers inflammation. Inflammation is one of the primary influencers in causing so many chronic diseases. Inflammation. And the bacteria inside your gut produce toxins that release things that cause inflammation and affect your moods. Again, gut inflammation is linked to your thinking, your cognitive skills, the decision making you use to get through the day, and your mood disorders as well. See, food, my friends, is the best medicine, or it's going to be your worst enemy, and it's going to be something that's going to trigger disease. There's lots of studies. There was one in the American Journal of Psychiatry, and that was back in 2010. And this is actually the first major study showing a correlation between poor diet and depression, and it was done in over 1,000 women. That's not a small study. And in this study published in the American Journal of Psychiatry, the researchers, the major lead researcher was called Felicia Jacka, and at the University of Melbourne in Australia. And they investigated the connection between diet and mood disorders in women. And this study, again, was with over 1,000 women, and it was kind of like from a broad spectrum of the Australian population. So people all the way up even into their 90s. And the key findings of the study show that traditional diet patterns, the traditional diets, I'm talking about one the people have been eating for thousands of years, eating fresh fruits, fresh vegetables and fresh fruits and whole grains and minimal amounts of animal protein and fish, wild caught fish, were associated with lower odds of getting major depression and problems with anxiety. And yet, at the same time, they found in the study that there was a correlation with what we call the Western diet, the standard American diet, SAD, the processed foods, the refined grains, the sugar foods that are loaded with refined sugars and artificial sweeteners, and drinking alcohol. Those individuals who were on those type of diets, when they were following these individuals, they had a higher likelihood of mood disorders, the depression, the anxiety, the dementia. So that connection between the diet and our mental well-being is a strong correlation. And there's many studies that are now following suit in the same direction. So you're not just feeding yourself anymore, you're feeding microorganisms. Or if you're not feeding the right microorganisms, your meals are going to be starving your mental capacity, your thinking skills, your memory, your decision making, your moods, your behaviors. It's truly mind-boggling how the diet affects all these things. Now, I want you to imagine a situation like this. And I've seen situations like this in my practice. And again, this is not uncommon. Think about a teenage boy who's failing in school. This boy is anxious. They're unable to concentrate, and they lash out at their parents and maybe even at their friends and teachers. But when a stool test is done and it reveals that there's major imbalances inside the gut, and a food sensitivity test is done, and the child's stool test shows that their gut is loaded with toxic bacteria and they have few beneficial bacteria, and they've got multiple food allergies, and they got leaky gut syndrome. And when those things inside the gut are corrected, and the leaky gut is corrected, and the good bacteria are put back into the gut, and the harmful bacteria are eliminated, not with drugs, but with herbs and with nutrients and with foods like fermented foods, and the food allergies were cleared out. Then when this happens, the child is now able to think clearly. And in just a short period of time, let's say maybe even just 6 weeks, and I've seen this happen in my practice. I remember one boy who had ADHD, and I'm not kidding when I tell you, when his parents brought him into the office, he had ADHD and he had autism. When his parents brought him in, and when he was sitting at the desk, he actually climbed up on my desk and started climbing the walls. You heard of people climbing the walls? Well, he literally did that. I am not kidding you when I tell you that. But yet, that boy, after we did all the things that I just mentioned for that young boy that I just talked about as an example, the boy in real life went on to live a normal life and graduated from high school and went on to college. And his thinking became clear. This is not unusual. I've seen this happen with multiple children and individuals who are adults at the same time as well, who had dementia, and they started to think clear again. And their cognitive skills improved, and their chronic fatigue went away without medications. That connection between the gut and the brain is powerful. And again, if you continue on just accepting hook, line, and sinker, the standard procedures without looking into what natural medicine can do, what natural medicine can do for you, and what functional medicine can do, all based on science. You see, microbes in your gut have a profound influence on your brain. And they can even hijack your food cravings. So if you're craving sugary foods and you're going and reaching for donuts and pies and cake and cookies and all that refined sugary food, the sugar-loving bacteria inside your gut sends signal to the vagus nerve. Remember that vagus nerve I talked about earlier, which is connected from your brain to your gut? Well, that vagus nerve, it gets signals. And when it gets the signals from the gut, wants more sugar. It craves more sugar. And it whispers in your ear, eat more of that stuff. So you've got the little voice that you don't even recognize that's influencing your decisions. So mood swings can follow, again, from the microbial shifts, the shifts in the bacteria inside your gut. Another study back in 2014 showed that the gut microbes, they manipulated the host's behavior in the study. And in that study, again, it was in the Bioassays journal back in 2014. It showed that the microbes actually manipulated the behaviors and the cravings for the foods that the individual wanted. That is profound when you think about it, that gut bacteria can influence your food cravings. The bad bacteria produce compounds that affect the brain and influence your food cravings. They again release these toxins that negatively affect moods until they get you to go after that junk food that they want. The food's loaded with sugar, bad fats, and chemicals. And these authors suggested that the manipulation of the eating behaviors were influenced by these gut microbes. And the food cravings that you have don't always align with your best interest. They potentially contribute to having you want and desire and crave unhealthy food choices and causing things like obesity. So if you're struggling with being overweight, it could be because of the decisions that you're making for food choices are being influenced by the microorganisms living in your gut. Has your doctor ever told you that? And they also noted that in this study that altering the gut microbiome, the microbiome, the bacteria, the microorganism living in the gut, that through giving probiotics with fermented foods and healthy food, remember, food's the best medicine, and other interventions, they were able to address these individuals' unhealthy eating patterns, and they were able to change their eating patterns by giving them probiotics from foods and supplements. Now, this is not an isolated study. There's a lot of studies that are coming out to demonstrate these same findings, and that's encouraging. So what you crave at your next meal, it might be from the bad guys that are living inside your gut. They're demanding you to refill their bellies with junk food. So if a patient is under constant work stress and they've developed sudden IBS, with unmanaged stress, that's another way that gut-brain axis can influence how you feel ultimately. So again, it's not only the gut microbes living there influencing your thinking and your moods, but your mindset, your way that you think, the unmanaged stress, and your decisions that you're making could influence what's going on in your gut and cause things like constipation, diarrhea, and bloating and gas, and cramping. And of course, doctors call this IBS, and this is a common problem. And tests show that elevated levels of cortisol, that's a stress hormone, and low microbial diversity. When we say diversity of microbes, that means that inside your gut, you have very few of the beneficial bacteria. So the combination of elevated cortisol and low microbes that are beneficial inside the gut cause people to have the symptoms of irritable bowel. And once the stress is managed and the gut was actually restored to balance, the healing was actually resolved, that the body restored itself. So healing happens both ways. It happens with how you think and how you manage stress, but at the same time, what's going on in your gut and the microbes living there and the choices that you make with food, that two-way street is going to determine your health outcomes, whether you have health or disease. It's a choice. But the good news is that here on the other side of medicine, we give you information on how to utilize food as medicine. Now, I take great strides every single day to produce about 4 or 5 and sometimes 6 videos a day, short little videos that are 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 90 seconds. And I give you tidbits of information and give you inspiration with things that you can do. It doesn't take long. I'm not telling you have to spend hours in a day like I do researching. You don't have to do that. I do it for you. Just take the time to become a member of our Gut 911 prescription community and 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 get the links that are going to be coming every single day with the videos and the articles of the day that I send out and the emails that I send out. And then once a week, I have a long video that I do that's going to be maybe 5 or 10 minutes. And then we have the podcast every single Wednesday, every single Thursday evening, like we are tonight. And then it's rebroadcasted on the podcast, which is located on my website, theothersideofmedicine.com. So you can go to the website, theothersideofmedicine.com, and just click on podcasts, and they're all there. The ones like today, not just with me, but with experts, doctors from around the world who are recognized international experts in natural medicine, functional medicine, doctors from all disciplines, medical doctors, functional doctors, chiropractors, naturopaths, researchers, physical therapists. I mean, we try to give you a broad spectrum of understanding from a lot of different perspectives. So, my friends, I hope you take advantage of these resources that we have. Again, you don't have to do all the work. I'm doing it for you. And I've been doing it for over 50 years. And it brings me great pleasure to help to bring this information to you. I need some help from you, though, to tell your family and friends about us. Tell them about the Gut 911 prescription community, where you just join for free and you get full access to books and courses and these videos and recipes and all kinds of tools to help you to restore your health and live independently healthy. So I need your help. Do me that favor and tell your family and friends about us, and go to the Gut 911 prescription community. All you gotta do is go to the website, theothersideofmedicine.com, and look for the Gut 911 prescription community. And then you can get access to it for free. You can just join. And then you can also go to Dr. James Krystosik, just Dr. James Krystosik, on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram, and you can get access to our daily YouTube videos. It's all free. And please do me the favor and tell your family and friends about it, so that we can grow this channel, so we can get this information out to people, so that we can help people to overcome the obstacles in their lives that are causing them to suffer with disease. Once again, if you are suffering with a mental disorder like dementia or Alzheimer's, or you have cognitive dysfunction, or you have brain fog, or any of these things, you don't have to live with them. There is definite help that's now been demonstrated, not with only research, but with clinical findings and practices like mine and other doctors all around the world. We're demonstrating that natural medicine is powerful. So our thinking process, our reasoning, our mental clarity is improved by changing the bacteria in our gut, and our mindset, the way that we walk around each day, what I call with an attitude of gratitude instead of stinking thinking. You have to constantly work on trying to change your mindset, because that voices around us in our world have so many negative influences that try to pull us into thinking in negative fashion. There's so much negativity in our world, and it's unfortunate. We don't have to live with that. We can make a choice And we have to make decisions throughout the day to focus on the positive and eliminate the negative. We can do that. And again, I encourage that. And our community of people is a supportive community that helps each other to do that. And once a week on Mondays at 7 o'clock in our Gut 911 prescription community, I provide an opportunity for around 40 minutes. And it's not every week, it's every second Monday. I used to do it every week, but now I'm doing it every second Monday because it's really difficult for me to put out so much information because I research it. I take a lot of pride in trying to get you the latest research. So every second Monday at 7 o'clock in the Gut 911 prescription community, I provide a topic of the day and then give you the opportunity to ask questions. And then you can meet other individuals just like yourself who are striving to be healthy through the natural health methods. People just like you can connect with those people in the community. It's just a great opportunity. And as I said, and I've mentioned before, I got my start in natural medicine over 50 years ago by being not in an internet community, but we went to a physical location and met once a week on Wednesday evenings, just like we're doing here on this podcast. We met once a week with a community, and there was like 20 or 30 people would come, and we had this gentleman who taught us. He was a Hiram College professor, Al Couch, and some of you may have heard of him. He was one of my dearest friends, and he really taught so many people that are now around the whole country, and some of around different parts of the world, teaching people like I am about how to acquire optimal health through using the body's capacity to heal itself. It's a beautiful thing. And so you can again affect your behaviors. You can make the right choices by being with the right people. And even your sleep, again, not only your mood and your behaviors, but your sleep is affected by the bugs, the microbes, the microorganisms living inside your gut. See, the imbalances in the gut are actually coming from those microbes because the microbes produce, again, inside of our gut, we have that serotonin that's produced. And melatonin, which is a hormone that helps to provide a calm, effective sleep, melatonin comes from serotonin. So poor sleep patterns are affected by the gut bacteria. And the poor gut bacteria, the harmful gut bacteria, increase inflammation and affect mood swings, which also will affect how you sleep. Because a lot of people will put their head on the pillow at night and their mind is racing. Hundreds and hundreds of thoughts are coming through their mind. They just can't still it. And often it's coming from imbalances inside the gut. So when you clean up your gut and you get the beneficial bacteria living there, it produces hormones like melatonin that help you to get sleep, and the anxiety and the depression and the racing mind will just start to slow down and you'll relax. Now, you can also incorporate deep breathing. That's another powerful technique that I teach all my patients to do. Some of you have tried it before. Many of you have never heard about it. But deep breathing, don't take it lightly. It has a profound effect on your body's chemistry, on your mind, and on how your gut is going to be able to respond to your environment. So your breathing affects your gut. Remember I talked about how the mind and unmanaged stress can affect the gut microbes? Well, when you learn to deep breathe, again, simple. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. It's like whistling sound. And then you just can close your eyes. and blow out. And what I teach people to do, as you breathe in and you close your eyes, imagine you're on a vacation, you're on a beach, you're with whoever it is that you want to be with, it's yourself or with your friends or a loved one. Just imagine you're there with them, wherever you want to be, wherever the most inspirational place in your life that you love to be at, that you've ever been, that you want to be with, whoever it is, wherever it's at, think on those things. And then as you breathe out, imagine in your mind's eye, there's a big black cloud of smoke going out. A big black cloud of smoke coming out. All the garbage, all the frustration, negativity, it's just coming out. And imagine that. It's just being washed away, being blown away. And then back in. But friends, this is a powerful technique. If you just do that twice a day for 10 minutes, morning and night, it will have a profound influence, not only on your moods and your cognitive skills, but your sleep patterns. So, but you can't meditate a problem away that's in the gut. You're not going to, if you've got poor gut, if you've got a harmful gut microorganisms that are living inside your gut, bad bacteria living in your gut, you're not going to meditate away those bad bacteria. You got to do it in concert together with eating the healthy foods, with killing off the harmful microorganisms. So you've got to kill off the harmful microorganisms and restore the good ones, and then heal the gut. Those three things simultaneously: healing the gut, killing the bad microorganisms, and restoring the good microorganisms will then help to change not only your moods, your behaviors, your sleep patterns, but helping to reduce inflammation throughout the entire body. And you'll begin to see that disease will just wither away. It will get resolved because the body heals itself if you follow these principles. So again, you've got to make sure that you use the two-pronged approach, helping to improve the mind, the positive thinking, and helping to improve the gut, restoring the balance inside the gut. So calm the gut and clear the mind. Those two principles are powerful. Only then will true healing occur. See, emotional eating will actually go ahead and trigger the signaling of the bad bugs. So when you eat emotionally, when you're upset, it's going to signal the bad bugs to flourish. So you want to make sure that you're eating the healthy foods so it'll signal the good bacteria to change your emotions. Emotional traumas can actually trigger microbial shifts. So if the gut bacteria, again, we talked about that earlier, could drive the emotional eating. So you got to have that two-way street again. Healing your gut is the best therapy that you can do. And doctors are not going to tell you about this. They're not going to tell you how to restore your gut. And I always tell people, when it comes to the type of microorganisms, the type of microorganisms living in your gut, you don't want to guess which type are living there. We have tests. We have tests that are now very accurate, and labs that we use. And I've been using these labs for over 35 years that actually figure out exactly what type of microorganisms are living inside your gut, good and bad and indifferent, and then how to get rid of the bad and which remedies. The labs that we use actually will show you which herbs, which supplements will get rid of the harmful microorganisms and which microorganisms are needed to be restored, which ones are low, the good bacteria that are low, and which ones to take and which foods to eat, the fermented foods, to get the best effect. I'm a big proponent of foods for probiotics, not taking probiotic supplements. There's research coming out of Stanford University that I've talked about here on this podcast before that showed that initially people who take probiotic supplements will get some benefit, but then after around 3 months, there's a significant decline in the bacteria that are beneficial inside the gut. They start to actually go down in number when you're taking probiotics. I'm talking about supplements. But when you eat foods, the researchers at Stanford showed that when you eat fermented foods, they continually and gradually increase the beneficial bacteria. Remember, again, food is the best medicine. And remember, there's no prescription that's going to heal your gut. It has to be a natural strategy. Again, fermented foods are my favorite. Kimchi and kefir and kombucha. And I love to eat dairy-free yogurt. My favorite is So Delicious, unsweetened. And I like to use that probiotic supplement, the food, So Delicious yogurt. I put it in a bowl, maybe a cup of it. And at the bottom of the bowl, I put the yogurt. And then I'll take some fresh strawberries and fresh blueberries. And then I'll take maybe some granola and sprinkle it on top. And then maybe I'll take some almond butter and put it on top. What a treat. And it, again, because it has the fermented yogurt in it, it helps with the probiotics. So miso is another great food. Sauerkraut is another one. Dill pickles, and make sure that you get these fermented foods from the refrigerator section of the store and get the good quality ones, the best quality ones. You know, my grandmother was not an educated woman. She was very wise. This is what she said. And many of you have heard me say this before. She said, you can skimp on the clothes that you wear. You can skimp on the car that you drive. You can skimp on the house that you live in or the vacations that you go on, but don't skimp on the foods that you eat. What a wise, profound statement coming from a woman who wasn't educated. She was wise. So I hope that you will ponder on that thought my grandmother said and make that kind of decision every single day. Because people often, and I see this all the time, they'll live in the most beautiful houses. They'll go to the finest vacation spots, but then they select the cheapest foods. And they say organic is too expensive. Doesn't make any sense. What you put into your mouth is a life or death decision, my friend. So don't skimp on those foods. Put the best. So if you want to think clearly, if you want to feel healthy every single day, you want to live life to its fullest extent, if you want to live your life again to that fullest extent, you have to fix your gut and you have to have the proper thinking. And if you want lasting health, as I said, that thinking has to clear out your mind. Get rid of the stinking thinking, an attitude of gratitude. So in this movement, in this episode, in this information that I share with you tonight, I hope it challenged your thinking, or it maybe sparked, a gut feeling inside of you, so that you could join me and the other people just like you in our Gut 911 prescription community. So you can reboot your brain, subscribe to the other side of medicine, into the Gut 911 prescription community. Share this episode with other people. You're not broken. You're just misconnected. Let's fix that. So if you'd like to learn more about the other side of medicine, you could go ahead and inside the Gut 911 prescription community and send me a message, and I'll be happy to respond to you. That is not typically done by doctors today. Again, I have a passion to help people to restore their health, just like I was given that privilege of being with a gentleman who taught me and the people in my community. I hope you take advantage of our Gut 911 prescription community. And once again, come back next week here on Wednesday at 8 o'clock. Now, I may be a few minutes late because I'm busy and I'm doing a lot of things, but I'll be here and I'll be able to bring to you the latest information, the cutting edge research based on common sense, science, and always cooperation with nature. So until next week, my friend, and again, I hope to meet you in our Gut 911 prescription community. Take care. God bless you.